Welcome to Drum Talk, and today I've got a special guest, Marco DeSciscio, and I hope my voice is reaching out to that camera today. Marco has come down here today to do some drum covers with me. Now, Marco and I have been friends, was it almost 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years.
Close, pretty darn close.
We met at a gig.
Yep. Where was it? Cornerstone Church, right?
Yeah, it was a biker gig.
A biker gig. And Marco and I have shared drum chair for Tony Leffler's band. You're really the main guy. I just fill in when you're not around.
Yeah.
Tony Leffler's a guy that I've played some covers of his music, that I've done some tracks down here. Used that as a drum cover a couple times. But Marco's the main drummer for Tony's band. And I don't know, we've been in the same circuit of churches and stuff, and I throw you gigs, you throw me gigs, you know. That's kind of how it works down here in South Florida. So today Marco came down and he did some recording with a band down here this year, and that was a fun little project.
That was great, yeah.
And we were talking and we said, hey, why don't you come down and do something on my channel? So I've got 2 covers of Marco's that'll be coming out. One is a Doobie Brothers tune.
Yes, Doobie Brothers.
And the other one is a Buddy Rich tune. And we thought, let's do a little drum talk, and we'll talk to Marco about his influences and his inspirations for how he did these covers. So tell us a little bit about your background, Marco. Really dig down like where you came from and where you studied and all that stuff.
I'm from Boston, home of the world champion Boston Red Sox. And
you have a car.
Yeah, I have a car. I have 2 cars. One of them's in the shop.
Okay.
But I moved here when I was a teenager and started playing in bands right away, went on the road right away, and met my wife at a show. And been happily married for 38 years with this lovely lady who's been putting up with my drumming and my idiosyncrasies, not only on the drum set.
And that's the only kind of woman you want to marry, to be honest, is somebody that is going to put up with your drumming, not take it away from you.
Yes. Yeah.
My wife was the same thing. She said, you're not the same if you're not drumming. So.
Yep. So it's been great.
That's awesome.
I'm living the dream. I'm retired now. I got kids. I got a grandson. I'm trying to teach him how to play the drums also. And when the phone rings, I answer it and I go to the gig.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome.
I'm loving playing my drums. I'm learning how to play less, more and more, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. As you get older, you really realize that playing less is actually the right way to play for some reason.
Rests are notes too.
Gallo told me that once.
Yeah, you heard it from me, I think.
Probably did.
Yeah.
Gallo's a guitar player that we play with occasionally. So tell me about who you studied with, some of the people you studied with.
Yeah, when I was just a young man, 9 years old, my dad had a friend who was a prominent drummer in the Boston area. Played at the Playboy Club and Copley Plaza, a lot of those society gigs. His name was Carl Goodwin. And I studied with him for 6-7 years and learned rudiments, time, reading music, and until I moved here. Then when I moved here, I went to Miami-Dade College, and played in the jazz band there.
That's cool.
And studied with Tony Crisatello, who was the drum instructor there, and he also was a society-type drummer. So old school, both old school type drum teachers, and that's what I was brought up with, old school type instruction.
So did you do a lot of general business gigs and GB gigs or club dates or corporates?
I did everything. The only thing I didn't do was cruise ships. I couldn't stand the idea of not being able to mingle with the clientele. So I never did cruise ships, but I've done everything else.
That's interesting.
Because when you're a drummer or a musician,
you have to play everything.
You can never say no when the phone rings.
Well, that's the way it used to be. That was the old school way. I grew up in the same thing.
Yeah, you can, because you never know. If you start saying no, then people say, oh, no, he said no to me.
So I'm not going to call him again.
And that's what I did for a living. So
the only time I would say no to somebody is if the pay wasn't right. I would work for anybody without asking even for pay the first time. But if I went and did a gig and the money, they said something to me about the money and then the money changed for some reason, I'd never go work with them again. I had certain standards that, you know. If the guy said to me, the gig pays $65 and that's the gig, and I'd go the first time, and if I really liked it, I'd go back and play it again for $65 or pay for. I used to play this blues gig for like $25 and a meal, but I love playing with those guys. If you love playing with the people you're working with, you'll play for almost nothing. But if you're working for somebody and you know that they're making big money and they're not doing you right, then you kind of go, oh, I'll do one. I'll give somebody one shot at that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But You had to take everything.
Yeah, you had
that
to.
was the big part of it.
No
Now,
more, but
to
back
take
then,
everything,
yes.
you had to be prepared to take everything.
Yeah.
Which meant you studied a lot of the classic club date beats, we would call them. You know,
Right,
the rumbas, the cha-chas, the merengues, the swing, the blues. You understood 12-bar blues. You understood rock beats, and you could get away with a gig pretty much knowing that those beats you can make through most of those casual gigs
Yes.
back in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, the dynamic where I was from in Miami was it was very clicky. So there was a jazz clique, and there was a rock clique, and because I did everything, the jazzers would look down and say, no, you know what, that guy he's kind of a rocker, and then the rock guys would say, you know, that guy is kind of a jazzer. So I never really got caught up in the clique. Maybe that hurt me, but in the long run, it was better because I actually learned how to play every kind of music.
Right.
So no matter who called me, I could do the gig. If it was polkas, or if it was a society dance band thing, or if it was a rock gig. Now, I wasn't great at any type of music, but like you said, I could play every kind of music okay.
Yeah.
And that was very good. And even now, it's turned out to be great because I'm playing with some original artists, and I can take some of those influences and add it to their music, which they wouldn't think. A folk artist wouldn't think of a jazz influence in his music, or a rock artist wouldn't think of a Latin influence in his music. So it's kind of made a nice hybrid in my drumming, and I think people like it because the phone does ring.
Yeah, that's true. It's good. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the music you came down here to record today. The first tune was
Yeah.
a Doobie Brothers tune. Tell me about your inspiration for it and how you approached learning it. Because you had a much different approach than what my subscribers know of my approach to things. So
Yeah, it was my approach was twofold with two songs that I covered. Down in the Track by the Doobie Brothers, and also a big band tune by the Buddy Rich Band. Now, the Down in the Track, it's got a lot of interesting drum parts in it, and they're very open drum parts that you could learn. And my approach was to learn the song exactly like it is on a recording, to show that it can be done. And to my thinking, it's necessary to do that, to be able to take a song and listen exactly what the drummer's doing and cop it. Don't get lazy and don't take shortcuts and say, well, I don't like that. Take the time and learn exactly what the drummer's doing. Now, that Doobie Brothers tune, as you can hear on it, is very open. The intro's a little tricky, took me some time, but it's doable. Now, if you're going to take an album like Jeff Beck's Blow by Blow,
right.
I mean, to me, that I would consider that a life's work,
Mm-hmm.
to try to cop what Richard Bailey did on that recording. I don't think he could even do that now. But, you know, start slow. Start on a tune that's doable, and then take those fills and apply them to the stuff that you have to do. Maybe some original tunes that you're doing, or tunes on your gig. The discipline of learning a drum fill and a drum part to perfection is invaluable in when you're putting your own parts together. It's a discipline thing. Now, in the Buddy Rich tune that I played, I did that. I'm not gonna cop everything Buddy Rich does. I don't know anybody who can, but I took the essence of the songs and the feel for the fills, and I added my own. I have an open style, so I stuck with my open style. I didn't try to be somebody that I wasn't, and I added these fills to Buddy Rich's tune. When you hear them, you might say, well, yeah, those are in context. Those sound good. It's not Buddy, it's me, but the band isn't lacking because of my fills. I think I'm enhancing the song.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Thanks.
I thought you really nailed the Buddy tune, to be honest.
Thanks.
You nailed the Doobie Brothers tune too, but they're two different things.
Right,
you know?
two entirely different things.
Yeah, the jazz thing versus the... Matter of fact, this Buddy tune is not a normal Buddy tune. Normal Buddy tune is just all chops, you know, that we think of Buddy. But this was Buddy playing some really tasty stuff. Was it a quartet or was it a full big band?
It was the big band.
Yeah,
it was the big band, but it was airy. There was
It
some
was
space in
very
there.
spaced.
Yeah.
It was more jazz of the 60s kind. It was like he had a different vibe going, as opposed to going with that power big band thing he normally did, you know.
Like a Quincy Jones soundtrack.
Yeah, kind of that.
Yeah.
It's definitely nice. It's a really nice tune, really nice. But it's not a Buddy tune that I would think of. I always think of like things like Straight No Chaser or Mercy Mercy or West Side Story or
Great songs.
Green Sleeves. He did a version of Green Sleeves, or what do they call it? Was it called Green Sleeves?
What Child Is This?
Yeah, What Child Is This is the way we know it as, but
yeah.
it's really green Sleeves. But I have Buddy's done some really choppy stuff. He did a lot of that, the choppy. This is really a nice tune, really sweet tune.
Yeah.
So, got to use my flat ride. How'd you feel playing my drum kit? I know Marco is a friend of mine that likes to play his own drums. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
So this was a real challenge for Marco, because even when Marco did the session down here, Marco brought his drums in. And as you all know, I have drums everywhere, so and everything's set up, but I let Marco have every touch of the drum kit as best that you wanted it, the way you wanted it to be, except for the bass drum pedal. Sorry about that, dude.
It's okay.
But everything else, I let you tune my toms, and I think got a nice sound out of them.
Beautiful.
You know?
Beautiful.
And you picked some nice cymbals for the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you like flat rides? I mean, I noticed this is a new thing of yours the last couple of years. I know you picked up a Zildjian flat ride, how many, like 5-6 years ago?
Well, the flat ride that I have, it's a Zildjian K flat ride, was a gift. I was on the road, and the bass player said, let's go jump around town. So we went to the music store. Next thing I know, he's buying this flat ride cymbal for me that I told him that I said, hey, listen to this, it's nice.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, he's peeling the sticker off it. So I ended up with it. And I do love it.
Yeah.
And this is a sweet sounding cymbal too.
Yeah.
It's like chalk.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I like it.
Flat rides have a very stick definition kind of thing.
Yeah, I like a
as
stick
opposed to the
definition.
spread of a thinner. Most of my cymbals are kind of thin. And you even chose the crash cymbals you chose were the thin crash cymbals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like them cymbals.
And you stayed with the Pisces. You could have went Zildjian, you could have went Sabian, but you stayed with the Pisces.
You know, when I'm playing the flat ride, like you said with the definition, when I'm playing, I'm not a swing drummer, not a jazz drummer, but I pick up things from listening to drummers who are specializing in that. And one thing I picked up from this drummer named Tony Williams is he said when he's playing with the ensemble, he's focusing on that ride cymbal. He is thinking about the syncopations and the rhythms are primarily on the ride cymbal, not on the snare drum and not on the bass drum.
Right.
So he's driving that ride cymbal and he's getting all the feel out of that ride cymbal. So I like that about the flat rides. You get that definition, doesn't start getting wowy and out of control.
Yeah.
And so needing all the help I can in jazz, that's what I do. I concentrate on that sound of the ride cymbal.
Yeah.
The definition.
Well, I like playing them once in a while. I find it's a one-trick pony for me. So if I'm doing a jazz thing, I can pull it out and use it for that certain section of the tune. But Charlie Watts, I mean, plays with the Rolling Stones with a flat ride. So it's not like it's not rock and roll. I mean, it's rock and roll too. But yeah, interesting. But yeah. Anyhow, anything else you want to say to my friends out there in YouTube land?
Yeah, be yourself. You can have influences, of course. You have I have many influences. I have drummers I love to listen to, but don't try to copy other drummers. Be yourself, because everybody has to have a unique sound. When someone walks into a gig and I'm warming up, I'd like for them to say, "Is that Marco?" Because I have my sound, and that's what you want to strive for. You want to strive for your own sound. You can tune the drums how you like, but the way that you hit the drums is gonna influence your sound. So be genuine to yourself, and the unique gift that God has given you, the unique sound that you have to offer to the world. Be confident in that, and be happy with that.
Awesome. Those are good words.
Yeah.
Good words of advice. Well, thank you for watching Drum Talk. Thank you, Marco, for coming on down and being a part of today. Having fun.
It's a pleasure.
Had a lot of fun with you.
It's been great.
And we hope you guys enjoy it. Please like and subscribe. And I'll talk to you next time on Drum Talk. Bye.